Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Monday, March 24th, 2025, and today's topic, I'm going to call it Artist Life, and the focus will be setting priorities, and it'll be a deep dive, and it may take several videos, but it'll be focused upon this idea of life as an artist, and then setting priorities today specifically. And I'd been meaning to do something like this for a while. But before we begin, welcome back if you're returning, and welcome if you're new to the channel. I sketch and post every day, and I use timers to stay focused and to build a habit. I'll start a 10-minute timer. It may take a little while, so these will be deep dives and might be longer videos. But I wanted to go over, I'll post links to 2 videos. There was one that I did in December called Planning Art Goals. Then I did one in January called Organizing Art Projects, and basically I was sketching and just writing down some notes. And I don't do this that often on the channel, but sometimes I feel like it's important. I feel called to do it. If you want to check those videos out, you can. I'll kind of go over probably some of the same kind of concepts, because it's really about productivity or self-improvement. And now I'm calling it like Artist Life. So it's kind of a series, and yeah, it's sort of an experiment for me too, just to do videos like this. Like I said, I'd been meaning to do, sometimes I'll mention as I'm doing videos, I'll kind of mention like I want to do a video about setting like priorities specifically for like art projects and stuff. And I have such like a big project that I'm working on that I'm calling it Project D. So I'm just going to kind of sketch as I'm talking. So part of this, the idea of this series and this deep dive is I want to create an illustration right here, probably with color, just because I want to use some color markers that I have. But like it's going to be spontaneous, and also it's going to focus on like the artist life concept. So I'm just going to make it fit right here so I can keep it in the camera. And what I have found typically is that this size right here, which is like half the page, works well with like the different markers like Sharpies and felt tip pens and stuff. It won't run out completely. So I'm going to be kind of just doodling and then turning it into something. We'll see. And maybe I will write down like notes down here just so I don't mess up the drawing. So speaking of notes, so I'll just jot down some notes. So for example, like art projects and then priorities. So yeah, in those other videos, I talked about like setting art goals and kind of my approach is what I'm saying, and like organizing like projects and stuff. And this is like a work in progress, so that's why I wanted to go over them, and that's why I don't talk about them until I have a clearer idea. So the idea of priorities, it took me a while, and it's still something I'm thinking about, which is why I want to do this video. And I was still thinking about it, and so that's why I didn't do a video even though I had brought it up. So sometimes like I can understand things better if I know. So what I'm going to do is just kind of sketch, and that might be interesting or helpful. I mean, it'll be helpful for me because like I'll have a sketch, but really I'm just kind of focused on like the topic. So yeah, I was saying that sometimes for me, if I know what something isn't, it helps me to know what something like is more than, so like priorities, for example, sometimes I'm not sure like what that means for me. I mean, there's definitions and everything, and there's different ways that people use it. So some of this will be coming from like the idea of the priority matrix, or I've also heard it called the but it's the idea of, what is it, like urgent but important, like that kind of thing. It's called the priority matrix. And sometimes things like that, so to me that's kind of like a high concept kind of thing. And what I mean by that is sometimes it takes a while to implement and to see like the results of. So for example, another topic that I wanted to make videos about is journaling and like sketching, which is to say keeping a journal and also keeping like a sketchbook, because I've mentioned how they go together. For me, definitely. I mean, I think they go together, and I think that for me, I've kept both, and in some ways I've kept a journal more than a sketchbook, like more consistently. So now that I start to have something, again, this was just sort of spontaneous here, so I'm going to be a little bit more deliberate about it, but still talk about this. So yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So yeah, the idea of urgent versus, so you've got urgent, so maybe I'll jot these down. So the matrix is something like this, where you have urgent but not important, and then you've got important, and then urgent, and then you've got important, not urgent, and then not important, not urgent. But yeah, you can like look that up. But basically, the idea is that this one is like nothing. That's pretty much what you want to get rid of. The urgent important is kind of like fires that you have to put out, and then the important not urgent is kind of what I was just talking about, like journaling and sketching. And then urgent not important is sort of kind of like mindless, but it feels important. And it's not really. So when I first started getting into this kind of stuff, I mean, I was pretty young, relatively speaking. I mean, I was always interested in this kind of stuff, which kind of made me a little weird, I guess. But that's kind of what I mean. Like, a lot of this stuff doesn't play out until later, and then you realize that you are on the right track. Just at least personally speaking, I can only speak for myself. And so part of this is just obviously encouragement for myself, but also for anyone else, that sometimes this right here, the important thing, but like the not urgent thing, such as journaling or sketching and stuff, which is like what so this is in a way kind of like journaling and sketching. And that's kind of what I mean. Like I would learn things and write it down, but then I would also be working on myself and understanding things, self-awareness. And so that's what the journaling was. So it's kind of a mix of, I'll write down journaling, a journal, like keep a journal, and then keep a sketchbook, and then have like a notebook. So these are things that I would consider like priorities for me. But like back when I first started doing it and learning about it, that's kind of what priorities is what I'm saying. So this whole thing is like the priority matrix, meaning it's a matrix. So I made this into a priority. You might seem kind of weird if you do that, and it may not pay off until a while later. It could be years later, but it does pay off, which is nice to know. Also, as I kind of go over these concepts, I also want to go over currently, like how it's affecting me, because life is this kind of moment moment kind of thing, although we sort of think of it as like a linear thing and then like steps or something. The truth is it's more like a river where, speaking of a river, maybe I can put a river over here, where it's moving, it's flowing, although there could be like the banks of the river. So I gotta get back into like drawing here. So going back to priorities. So yeah, I made it into a priority to do things that were important, like, but not urgent. However, sometimes you have a situation where it's urgent and it's important. So an example of that would be, I've brought up, for example, that like I've worked at jobs, like a lot actually, where it wasn't, like I call it like not art related. I mean, it could be working at a restaurant, for example. So I've had all kinds of odd jobs, let's say, and I've been good at every job just because of kind of the way I think. Like I like to organize and manage things. However, it wasn't my calling, let's say. But so the way that works is, so I'm specifically saying setting priorities for like art because right now, like that's where I'm at, like right now. But at the time, let's say if I were working at a job that wasn't art related, so to speak, I still prioritized sketching. So I would sketch like a minute a day. But then there were times where I was genuinely blocked because, for example, well, just life stuff that came up. And when you're blocked, so I've done videos where I talked about resistance versus blocked. When there's resistance, there's all like different ways. So like you could set a timer and keep a sketchbook so that you can at least see like the progress. So I've done also videos where I've showed like basically I call it my recovery sketchbook, how I got back into sketching and art and everything. And part of it is because I'm passionate about it and it's just a part of like who I am and my identity and stuff. And if I'm not doing it, it just really messes with me. So I had to find a way to do it. But then I also had a lot of other stuff going on, like life stuff, which is normal. I mean, it's natural. So that is different than resistance. That's like a block, basically. And when you're blocked, you're blocked. Like the pipe is blocked. And you could turn on the water all you want, but it's not gonna help. So going back to priorities, let me just kind of bring it up to date. Fast forward. So yeah, like basically important and urgent would be just having a job and just needing to pay the bills and everything. And so that actually lasted a while is kind of my point. But it was like important and urgent. But then maintaining habits and stuff that had to do with art, that basically is what I'm doing now. That would be like important, but like not urgent to, as far as like paying bills and stuff like that. Now, what I have found these days is that I have the opportunity, but yeah, I had to do like work and save money and stuff. But that's not really the point of my channel. But the point is that sometimes it takes years for you to, or for me anyway, to keep practicing and keep up the habits and stuff like that and make it a priority. So basically anything you kind of make a priority will grow. And then it's just a matter of, well, how do you know what to make into a priority. And that's kind of another topic actually, with basically artist life, or like your purpose and stuff. Like, I pretty much have always known this is what I want to do, and I'll have to do other videos about that, but that has more to do with like purpose. But as far as like a priority, but let's say that this is what you want to do, and it doesn't have to be for your whole life. Like, I mean, I didn't always think about it like that. Sometimes I just kind of thought like more of a career kind of thing. But this is important, so to speak, like important but not urgent, because the not urgent part has to do with the fact that there's an industry, and there's like businesses and stuff like that that have their own agendas, and they have their own goals, which again is just part of life. But then you have to know like what you want and what you're doing. So just to kind of make it a little bit more current, so I treat this part, like where I'm recording this and sketching and stuff, as my job. And so I'm treating it like it's important and urgent, although I'm doing it in the way that I have decided that I want to do it. But so I treat it like that. But then the other thing has shifted. So this has become kind of like an important and urgent thing. And by urgent, I mean I do it every day. So there's an urgency, like that's the time period. It's pretty frequent. And I find that if I don't, it doesn't work for me, basically. But that's just me. But then I have so like this used to be where I didn't have as much time to do this kind of thing, and then I would do something else. But then now I have a thing called Project D, which part of it is this, part of it is like illustrations or concept art that could go towards it. It doesn't have to be, like I don't do these videos just to do like that project, but that's kind of what I mean. Now that project has become the thing where it's a priority, but it's like important, but it's not urgent, meaning that like it's cooking, like it's on the stove. So maybe we can kind of do that. So what I'm doing like with these videos, for example, let's just pretend this is like cooking here. So what I'm doing with these videos is cooking. So this is stuff that's like I'm actively cooking or serving up, let's say. Let's create a bowl right here. So I'm actively going to serve up this video today. But then there's things that you want to prepare. So maybe a cutting board can have ingredients on it. So you have things that you're preparing. So serving up. And I'll kind of wrap this up. Here you're prepping, and then you have stuff that you are cooking. So put some stuff on here. Some things you just started to cook. So maybe that could be a way to think about priorities, where all of these, I would say, go into the important, not urgent. Although some of the serving up things could be sort of the urgent stuff. Because, for example, like you have to eat today, so you're gonna eat something. So it may not be that fancy. But anyway, these are just kind of some ideas I have, and kind of an excuse for me to sketch. I'll keep working on this and keep revisiting this page this week. And yeah, it'll be a deep dive into the series I'm calling it Artist Life and Setting Priorities. So I want to thank you for joining me for our daily sketching routine. If you like these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it. And until next time, keep on sketching.